like Oahu that brings more of the cultural elements of the island. It's one of the biggest theme parks, or most successful, attractive theme park in the world. And it would certainly bring a lot of revenue. And I wonder if that's been enticing at all to any of these developers, if it's been considered. You know, has this idea been brought up in a way that is viable with these current people who are considering developing?
I haven't heard of anything. Those kind of ideas, I think, sort of went by the wayside.
I mean, I would say too, I mean, we're not really...
Keep in mind, these are just the planning officials,
Yeah.
not the other developers
I can't really
involved.
speak.
We're not
for-
privy to the things that they're thinking of.
At least all of them.
Yeah.
Can you, Maury King, can you give us the contact information? Can you give KCA the names of the people at DHHL so they can put it on the website so those of us that might want to begin a dialogue, unless you'd rather do it through KCA rather than have individuals start to write them?
We'll go ahead and do that. Thanks, Maury.
Over 25 years ago, the same thing was to happen in Napa Valley. The people put all agriculture land into public trust. It is only for agriculture. Has that ever been thought of here?
With the exception of a few of the areas, and particularly where the county is involved with the motorsports park, it's very poor agricultural area, very poor agricultural soil. Now, again, we can't speak for, you know, what the future for DLNR or DHHL, ultimately what their plans are going to be. We can only speak for the county. At least our portion of this executive ordered land is very, very poor for agriculture.
Let me use this. Yes. Okay. Let me just add something to that. A lot of the property around the area has been designated as IAL, important agricultural lands. What is excluded, and I'm just saying this just as a matter of fact, what's excluded from my recollection of the map is the state-owned property.
Yeah.
So if you look at the property ownership map, most of that area to the west, to the north, is IAL, but leave out the state land, and that's not IAL.
And let me just add something to important agricultural lands. That's a designation recognized by the state. Those lands have been dedicated to agriculture, and I mean they're basically owned by A&B. They've been dedicated for agriculture. It takes an act of the legislature to remove them from IAL. So that pretty much shows their intent with long-term agriculture, but also that those open spaces are going to be preserved for a long time.
Our next question.
I've been living here since 1973 from Oahu, and we come from a family of racers. So I really like that ambitious plan that you have there, if that's what can come to fruition. Is the jail going to be built first before you're going to develop that other area? Because we've heard rumors that they were going to do away the races and the things like that. So I can at least go back and say that it's a rumor. All of our kids race, and I think this is a revenue thing that can really happen for Maui, because outer islands will come here, and if that's what you're doing, I think it's going to be great, because you have all the holidays that they'll come here. Campo Industrial area has been closed down. We used to race there, and I just think it's going to be just great if we can allow that to happen, and we don't have to worry about the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me say, I mean, right now the master plan says the uses remain. The drag strip has been there for 40, 50 years, so that's the plan. And the plan is to improve that facility along with the others so that they don't have to run generators for electricity. So right now, the plan is for them to remain. Well, we can't speak to the, I mean, you know, like I said, Will and I said, we don't speak for the jail. You know, that's a state, it's DAGS and PSD. Right now, that's the site that they've selected, and so we're just for planning purposes, assuming that it's going to go there. We have raised, I will say, one of the issues that we have raised, and we've been upfront about this, one of our concerns is the impact of noise from the race on the people in the jail. And really, what we don't want to have happen is to have, well, I mean, not in the sense of we're overly concerned, but I mean, what we don't want to have happen is that activities at the raceway are reduced because of the noise impacts, because the raceway was there first.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The raceway was there first. That's why that portion of the land was executive ordered to Maui County, is for these kinds of recreational uses. The drag strip, the go-karts, the circle racers, the motocross track, everything that's noisy and dusty is supposed to go in this area. And I can't even imagine, I can speak for this administration that we're dedicated to those things remaining and being promoted. And actually having coming out with a nicer facility as this area develops. And I can't imagine, any future administrations changing that kind of policy, because this extraordinarily popular with our community. I used to go to the races when I was a kid. I love that stuff. So, those things have our full support for that area. I think the rumor should go away. I'll say that I don't know if PSD has taken into account how noisy it does get. So, and those things are going to remain, so they need to really take care on how they recognize that those uses are there.
Our next question.
While the Hawaiian Homeland has this large piece of land, and basically you said that they can pretty well decide what they want to do with it, doesn't the county have some input, because there aren't things like power and water being supplied there right now, and so whatever they put there is going to require services.
Yep.
Is the county obligated to provide those services just because they've decided to put something there?
It's like most developers. The developer is the one required to put in the infrastructure. So if there's a water line required, that developer, or in this case, that agency, would be required to provide that. Part of the reason for master planning and cooperating with the county is that we all need something out of this. We have the economies of scale, whereas, public safety would not be able to afford to go do this project by themselves, or Hawaiian Homelands probably is not going to have the kind of money needed to go and develop this site without, additional help. Sure, there may be private investors, but for some of these other public facilities, they have to go to the legislature to get appropriations, and they really need the county to stand behind them as we go forward. So they have an interest in listening to us.
Next question.
Hi there. I wanted to answer her question and also ask you a question along those lines. I was involved in the executive order in 2003, getting it signed by Governor Lingo, and it is expressly said for these type of uses. And when they came in about 2005 and 6 and said, oh, hey, we want to put a jail there, I said, and the mayor, I was working for the mayor at the time, he and I both said, you guys have to be very aware that the racing was there first. Yep. And we don't want any calls from the ACLU saying, hey, our prisoners can't sleep at night, because that the races go on until 3 in the morning at sometimes. They do go at 3 in the morning once a month, and it's usually on Memorial Day weekend coming up, so they have to be aware of it. And they assured us, at least and this is the question I have for Will, the group that was doing the planning then, now is it the same group of people that are doing the planning now, since it's a new administration in the governor's office?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure who was there then.
Okay.
But I mean, if the EO says specifically for these uses, you know, that's what the land is for and that's what we're holding to.
Actually, even this was, I want to just follow up on John's question. I want to be real clear that, or asking you if, or you're saying no, because normally when things are being planned or changes are going to take place, and I'm specifically speaking about the Department of Homelands, you know, their piece. Is there any requirement that they put out any notification on either a county level or a state level that there's going to be a change, or what their plan is, so that we can watch for that and know that that's our opportunity to have input?
Okay. My understanding of state law, and it goes into the Hawaiian Homelands Act. They have certain exemptions from county laws, but they are, and I believe some exemptions from state law. I'd have to go look at what it is specifically, but they do not have an exemption from Chapter 343, from doing an EIS. So that is a public document that has to be circulated among the community. You know, when they go to do that thing, they have to come around and do pre-consultation, and they'll probably, I can't say anything, they should come to this community and to gather input for that with regards to that project. And as a part of the process, you know, there's the ability to comment on it. We like this, we don't like that. Did you think about this impact or that impact? And, you know, they have to address all those things as a part of that.
And doesn't that, any EIS has to be approved by the county planning commission then?
No.
And that's another, so
No.
even though they do an EIS, the county planning commission doesn't have to approve it?
Who approves the
I'm
EIS?
just trying to follow the tracking, so we know when and where we might have.
Right. Probably, I'm gonna guess for something like this, because it's a state agency, probably the approving agency would be the governor's office. I'm guessing at that.
So the environmental impact statement would be prepared, and then it would go to the governor's office. The governor's office at that point would say whether they had to enact these changes or not.
Yeah, whether when you approve an EIS, what you're saying is this document fully addresses the impacts. It recognizes that there are significant impacts, any mitigative measures or something that just can't be mitigated. But it's supposed to cover pretty much A to Z, all different impacts that you can think of.
Our next question.
Very simply, if we wake up in the morning 2 days from now and read in the Maui news that a Charlie Jenks has been hired by DHHL to develop this property, and he announces that it's going to be light industrial, just as light industrial we're having in the Pilani Promenade, what recourse do we have?
Well, I don't think it's certainly not going to be waking up tomorrow. They do have this EIS process to go through first. So there's going to be a lot more public disclosure before, you know, that morning you wake up to find out what's going on. So you'll have a lot of lead time into what's being planned.
We have a question from Tom.
Will, in a complex situation like this, which you described very well, in which you have multiple landowners, why is the planning process coming from the top down? A lot of the questions that people are being generated are around specific, I'm concerned about this, and I don't want to wake up in the morning this. What consideration has been given to doing maybe a 3-day charrette where you put blank pieces of paper up on the wall, you invite the community in, you say, here's what it is, here's the landowners come in, the community comes in, the raceway people come in,